Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Make sure I'm going to bring the screen up. Good evening, everyone. I know that we're live. I'm going to increase our screen. I hope everybody's having a great evening. I want you to come on in. I'm going to set things up so that I can see you as you come in. And as you log in, please just give us your state that where you're logging in from, the state where you are logging in from. Welcome, 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 everyone. Let's see. This is going to be an incredible night, and I'm excited. So you need to share this video stream, this live stream tonight. You need to share it with everyone that you know. I have a phenomenal woman, seriously, with us tonight, who has information for us that we're going to be chatting about that's going to empower you, that's going to definitely, hopefully bring hope to you on tonight. So I'm trying to find it and it's right in front of me. I just got to turn that down. Good evening, Live My Life Debt Free family. Good evening. Make sure that you share this, please. Share it. And I'm gonna send this on over to the Debt Free Lounge as well. I'm going to include everybody.
Okay. Make sure that
you share this. Okay.
I'm trying to share it too.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I had to turn myself down. Join us. Live. And with both Zoom and Facebook, I know that it's going to take just a moment. So we are going to get started in about 30-40 seconds. Oh, you're on mute. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. We are live.
That's okay. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Good evening once again. We're going to go ahead and get started. So as you come in, and for those of you who will replay this, I'm going to introduce myself. Most everybody who's in the Debt Free Lounge, or and some in the Live My Life Debt Free community, those who are new, and especially those who will replay this. Just want to introduce myself, and then I'm going to introduce our speaker. But I'm Chris Roebuck, founder and CEO of Live My Life Debt Free. I am an author. I'm an author, speaker, minister of the gospel, financial strategist, and I'm just excited to walk alongside everyone in the Debt Free Lounge and the Live My Life Debt Free community as a whole. What we do here, we've been around just over 7 years, and I just love empowering people to live a debt-free life through teaching financial literacy. So, in doing so, I get to invite speakers with the incredible knowledge and expertise to help all of us to grow. And I am happy that our speaker tonight said yes. And before our conversation start, I just want to say that if you would like to reach us or you want to contact me, you can go to www.livemylifedebtfree.com/contact. I am also on Facebook, Live My Life Debt Free, Instagram, Live My Life Debt Free, and also Twitter. So with having said all of that and getting everything out of the way, I am really pleased that Angela Williams-Graves said yes. I'm really pleased that this servant leader, that's what I call her, who has truly impacted I would even guess probably millions of lives, because she is on television a lot, and she's worked for many, many years within the community, changing lives, changing systems that need to be changed. And just she loves doing it. She's warm, she's tough, and she gets things done. And she's very knowledgeable about about her craft. So when I asked her if she wouldn't mind coming on and talking to us tonight, she said absolutely immediately. So I really feel blessed. I want to just thank you, Angela Williams-Graves, for being with us tonight. She is a Norfolk City Council member. And she'll tell you more about herself. She's also the principal broker and owner of Homes by Angela Realty, and just doing things for the community all the way around. I'm just excited about how she's helping homeowners to, people to become owners, and those even help people, help some individuals save their homes. We have certainly partnered. She's partnered with Live My Life Debt Free since inception. And I've just been really excited and happy, that she volunteers her time, to help, individuals or my clientele to get through some hurdles that has certainly impacted their lives. So with having said all of that, Angela, I just want to say welcome and thank you so much for being with me tonight. I know you don't like to have so much said about you, but I really want them to hear from you what you would like, to share about yourself. But I am, just really proud of all that you've done to help the community, and you've done it for years, and I know that you have plans to continue to do it for many more. So
Absolutely.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate the invitation, because I know that your connectivity is vast, and there are any number of people that you could have asked to do this. And the reason I said yes so quickly was because you and your influence have done so much for me. I will call you periodically and be like, okay, I need to tell you something. And it's something that has, it's always something that has been the result of, or the fruit from, a seed that you planted. And so I am honored to be here, and honored to share my knowledge, honored to share my experiences. One of the things that I have found is I am able to be transparent with individuals. A lot of times people go through things and they get onto the other side. And I understand wanting to forget what happened. I get that, right? Nobody wants to relive madness. But when you tell your story, we overcome by the word of our testimony. When you tell your story and you tell people how you got over, how I got over, that was an old church song, it helps them to overcome, and it helps them, because I think a lot of times people look at us and they go, oh, this person has always had it going on, or this person was born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or they just knew all the right people, or they had all the right connections. And so when you can share your screw ups, and you can share the misinformation that you may have been living with other people, and also share with them that that's not the end of the story, that is not the end, it helps them. And I'm just grateful that I have enough self-confidence to be able to do that, to be able to say, this is what I went through, this is how I messed up, but this is where I am now, and this is how I got past it, and be transparent with individuals. So I'm grateful to be here, and grateful to share my little part of my story with your viewers and with our debt-free lounge friends.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I am going to ask you to, to share some of your story, I'm also going to ask you to share your expertise in some areas where I know that people are hurting today, in the midst of everything that's happening in the world. So it, I guess what I'd like to ask you first before I get to that part of it. Um, everyone, or sometimes perhaps people will look at, or they'll probably think, well, Angela's always smiling. She's always upbeat. She doesn't have any issues and she's never gone through anything. She's probably never even, had to worry about paying her rent, or whatever. Um, but what I believe is that, the reason why you can be so empathetic with the community is the very reason that you spoke of, earlier, is that you can be transparent because you can relate in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I love the story that you told about your rental property. And of course it wasn't, something that happened overnight, but, I don't know, you can share whatever you want to share, but that is one thing that really resonated with me was, how you shared about your rental property, and some things that you had to go through prior to that, to get to purchasing that rental property.
Well, that was definitely one of those exciting moments. I think you were probably the second person I called after I purchased it, other than my husband, to say I closed on it. But I was like, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? It was it is one of my goals. So as Chris said, I'm a realtor. I'm now a business owner. My office is probably a little more than 60 days old. We opened on August the 5th. And that day had sentimental value for me because it was my dad's birthday. And so it was. And so but my in talking to people, so one of the things that I've learned is the value of a good circle. And one of the things that I remember from network marketing was, if you hanging out with 9 broke people, you bound to be the 10th one. If you hanging out with 9 broke people, you are bound to be the 10th one. And so that always resonated with me. And so I felt like I wanted to know people who knew more than me. I wanted to know people who did more than me, people who had visions greater than mine, and not only had visions, but people who had done things that I had not done, or they had done things that I wanted to do. And somehow I ended up meeting a couple of investors. And when you start to change, I believe when you start to change how you think, whether you want to look at what goes up must come down, what you put out comes in, however way you want to frame it, you reap what you sow. That goes into your thought process as well. And so when you start talking about the things that you want to do and you're talking about doing productive things, I believe that the Lord sends you the people based on what he sees in your heart, but also based on what your conversation is. What are you looking at? How are you trying to do different things? And so, unbeknownst to me, one of my good girlfriends was a landlord. We never had that conversation before. And then I start talking about buying rental property. She's like, oh, well, I got a couple of pieces and this is what I do, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't know you had it going on like that. And so, and then another friend of mine, he was a landlord, and come to find out, that's kind of like their family business. He owns several pieces of property that I just never even knew until that I started to look at what I wanted differently. So what I put together in my own mind was a plan of how I wanted to retire, because being self-employed means that you have to self-fund your retirement. And
Right.
so I have a rental property acquisition plan of how I want to acquire rental property and what I want my positive cash flow to be from each property in order to self-fund my retirement.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I started looking at what I needed to do, I did take one of those little TV courses on being an investor. I paid my little $1,500, and thanks to Chris, I actually had $1,500 to pay somebody for a course. And I spent 3 days at the Marriott, listening and taking notes and understanding the process. And so then I just set to save the money that I needed for my down payment and to
Mhm.
continue to work on my credit. Because at the time, my credit, at that time, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And so I was trying to get to great. And what I didn't realize was good
Mhm.
plus would get me
Yes.
my rental property. Okay. I didn't have to get to great
Mhm.
to get my rental property. Good plus would get me my rental property. And so I saved up my money for my down payment, and I sell houses for a living. So for me, it's like, okay, this is what my normal production would be. How much extra do I have to do in order for me to save up my money in order to have my down payment or my extra vacation or my
Mhm.
this or that? And so when I was able to finance that house, that duplex actually, finance that duplex on my own with my own signature, not needing my
Mhm.
husband as a co-signer. It was it was the best feeling ever. And I called Chris because it was her foundational teaching that got me to seeing money differently, got me to seeing my finances differently, got me to seeing what money meant and what credit meant and what my finances meant. She's the one that got me to seeing that differently. So in 2016, I purchased my first duplex. And I say first because there's going to be a second and a third, like a duplex, a quad, or something or another like that, right? That's what I see in my
Exactly.
future. And my
Awesome.
husband is famous for saying, "Well, you got all these plans. How are you going to do it?" I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is I know that God wouldn't have put this in my heart, and he wouldn't allow it on my lips, and he wouldn't send me to people to be resources for me if it wasn't meant for it to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's gonna happen. I just know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in 2016, I purchased my first property
That's
for
powerful.
investment purposes. And yeah, and we just
That's
refinanced it.
powerful.
Yep, yep.
That's powerful, and listening to you say that God wouldn't put it in your heart, and that reminds me that God can do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ever ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us.
Oh,
So if we can think it,
mhm,
God can do it,
mhm,
you know,
mhm,
and
mhm,
um, and because of your good stewardship, I believe that he is going to allow more than the quad or
mhm,
more than the duplex. You just never know how God will want to do things.
mhm.
But you said
I always
something
say
major.
I always say that when he says he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all I can ask or think, that's a tall order because I have got a huge imagination about things that I could do. So I'm like, okay, God, I got you. I'm gonna take you up on that.
Right. And he's saying, okay, yes, I love that. I want you to test me, you know? So awesome, awesome. I'm really proud of you. I mean, that is that's really powerful. It makes me think about the game cash flow, where
Mm,
you can buy all of those.
mhm,
You can buy up all the property and have
mhm,
increase your cash flow, and
mhm,
and then pretty
mhm,
soon, your debts and things like that, if you have any, will be
Right,
gone, and then out of
right.
just all of the properties and the
The
income.
profit will come to you.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely,
You know what,
absolutely.
Chris? I want to share a little bit about how I got to the bad place. And because I think that the moral of the story is that we have to be careful with what we say to our young adults. um I
Mhm,
didn't understand. I thought growing up, I thought we were rich. Okay, that's just what I don't have a poor Angela story, because we weren't poor, and I don't say that braggingly at all. My parents worked very hard. They were poor growing up, and they worked very hard so that I did not have to be poor and experience the things that they experienced. So I thought we were rich growing up. What I realized when I got to be an adult was that my parents were middle class people with good credit. Okay, that's what they were. But what my parents, who loved me so much, failed to impart to me was the value of money and the value of good credit. My father used to say to me, "You can't spend money but one time." I didn't really understand that because he was my bank. I could spend my money and then I could go get his money and spend it out. I didn't get it, right? Um, and so I remember very clearly that I didn't understand credit. I didn't understand how credit worked. And I, as a 19-year-old, applied for a couple of credit cards. Did at that point had nothing in my name, and I, as a 19-year-old, applied for a couple of credit cards, got declined. And I was working in a jewelry store, and there was
mhm.
a young lady that said, I said, "I don't understand why I can't get approved." And she said, "Oh, girl, your credit bad, but don't worry about it. Everybody's got bad credit." At
Wow.
19, this is what she said to me. And it may have been very flippant to her, but it stuck with me. And from
Mhm,
that point on, even when I did get credit, I didn't value the credit that I
mm,
did
mm,
have. I didn't understand the process of
mm,
obtaining credit. I didn't understand the value of good credit. I didn't understand the value of low interest rates. Okay.
mhm,
I didn't understand that. And so even when I got credit, I would pay late, I would miss payments. It didn't matter. It had to be a fluke that I even got the credit. I mean, it's a furniture account. What are they gonna do? Come get the furniture? Okay. I mean, that was what was deposited
yeah,
in me. And because again, my parents, who I love so much, were probably typical of a lot of Black parents. We don't talk about money. And we certainly don't want anybody to think we have two pennies, because then somebody's gonna want to come and borrow some, right? So we don't teach our children
right.
about money, and we don't teach them. And so that stuck with me for
Mhm,
decades. At 23 years old, that stuck with me for decades,
mhm,
because even when I got even when I bought my house, I kid you not, I thought it was a fluke. I did not realize that my credit wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And they don't let people buy houses with bad credit. So you must be doing something right. Figure out what it is and keep doing it. So, it did
right.
not, my mind wasn't there. And then at 25 or 6 or 7, maybe it was, I filed bankruptcy because I had amassed all this credit that I
Mm,
had been reckless with. And so then you have the stigma, well, when you file bankruptcy, you got bad credit for life, or it sticks with you for 10 years. So now I'm thinking, well, my credit's going to be bad for 10 years. That's not true. That's not true.
right.
And nobody at that time explained the steps to me to help me to
Mhm,
rebuild my credit from the bankruptcy, because I've seen people and help people 2, 3 years out of bankruptcy rebuild their credit and buy homes.
right,
So it can be done, but
right.
I didn't understand that it wasn't a fluke. That seed of everybody's got bad credit had been
Mhm,
planted in me, and it was not letting go. And so it wasn't until, again, the power of your circle, the
Mhm.
power of the people that you are around, and the people who pour into you, and the people who say things to you. The
Right.
power of those people can change your life for the positive, or they can change your life for the negative. Imagine, I just look and go, imagine if I had met Chris Roebuck at 18 or 19 years old. Imagine if I had met my other girlfriend who I teach first time homebuyer classes with, Marian Uzzle, at 18 or 19 years old, and had them as role models at 18 or 19 years old, who actually talked to me about credit and talk to me about my spending habits. I thought pay yourself meant I could go shopping. I'm paying
Yeah,
myself
David
first. I'm
Barkley
going to the
thinks
mall.
that. Yeah, David Bach would really have a problem with, he would be like, no, no, that's not what that means. That
You
means,
know, so
yeah,
it's the
well,
power of
yeah,
words, that life
right.
and death is in the power of the tongue. Is really, really, and so that's what I say to parents and to individuals in general. Be mindful of the things that you're saying to young people, because what you say can have a lasting impact far beyond when you said it to them.
Right.
And it can have a positive or it can have a negative. Just like when Chris Roebuck told me, don't let my bills hold me hostage. I'm not, don't, why are you scared to answer your phone? You paid a bill. Don't let your bills hold you hostage. What do I want to open them for?
About that.
That was when I first
Okay.
joined Grove. You said it.
Okay.
And ever since
Oh,
then, I've
wow.
opened every bill that has come to my house in my name, and I answer every phone. I dare my phone to ring now with an 800 number on it.
Right, right. Pick it up. And
Hmm.
and this is a good segue even to the place where we are right now, and where everybody. I know that there are some people right now who have their mail stacked up,
Hmm.
and even during amid this pandemic, I would still encourage everyone to face that giant, open that
Yep.
mail. Don't
Hmm.
allow it to control, the way that you live your life, the way that you feel. Don't allow those stresses to,
Hmm.
weigh you down.
Hmm.
Um, and
What you
speaking of,
don't know can be more, what you don't know tends to be more difficult than what you do know, because you make it out to be a giant that can't fall.
absolutely,
And you
absolutely,
live in fear and anxiety over what you don't know, and then you project all of this what if on what you
right,
don't know.
right.
Just open up the envelope. Open up the envelope, because a lot of times, most times, it's not as bad as you thought it was. And then at least you know what it is,
That's right. That's right. And it's
you know?
easier to, just deal with it and, get it behind you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna I have a couple of uh before we move on, we're gonna move to the next segment here. The lower the interest rate, the faster you pay it off. Keith Brown. And what you don't know can hurt you more than what you know. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. I
Mm-hmm.
have to let that sit
Mm-hmm.
for a moment.
What you
Um,
don't know can hurt you more than what you do.
what you know?
Absolutely. Somebody said to
Absolutely.
me one time, it's not when you there's what you know that you know what you don't know, but when you don't know what you don't know how to make the next move. If you don't know and you don't know that you don't know, you don't even
Right,
really know how to make the next move. At least if you can identify something and say, I don't have a clue about that, at
right.
least you can then Google, call somebody that is an expert in that area and say, hey, I got this situation. I don't know anything about it. Can you help me? Or do you know somebody that can help me? But if you don't even realize that you don't know what you have to deal with, you're making moves and you don't know if the moves that you're making are advantageous to you, or if they're putting you deeper into the hole. So yeah, I totally get that. I
Right.
totally get that.
Um, so I'm just before we're gonna move on.
Mhm.
But I love how you said the power of your circle, and you talked about what how other what be mindful of what other people say, and how we allow it to attach itself and to grow there and stay there for years. We also have to remember and be mindful of what we say about ourselves. I remember
Mhm.
saying, until I learn better, I'm always going to be broke. I can never make ends meet. And my favorite
Mm.
response to that is that if you believe that you're going to always be broke, I believe that with you. And
Mhm.
also the other thing is that if um, ends don't meet. So I always say, my friends, you are exactly right. You'll never make ends meet because they don't. In
Mhm.
other words, even though
Mm.
I know exactly what they mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
but we have to be mindful about saying those kind of things about
Absolutely.
ourselves, including
Absolutely.
what other people say. So
Absolutely.
I want to talk to the city council member
Okay.
side of you. 40 million Americans, this was a stat or a statement that was made, CNBC made,
Mhm.
and it was really startling to me. 40 million Americans, this was early October, 40 million Americans may not be able to pay their rent in October. And that they also pointed out that that is four times the amount these individuals are on the brink of losing their homes. So they're saying that it's four times the amount during the recession, seen during the recession.
Mhm.
So during this pandemic, it's even worse as far as the number of people who will lose their homes for a different reason, but still losing their homes. So and also the unemployment levels are historic highs. State eviction, this is where the state eviction moratoriums in more than 30 states have lifted, and the protection for renters in the CARES Act have also run out. So my question to you is, what are you hearing from your constituents? Because I know that you are in the midst of people. We can see stuff on TV,
Mhm.
but what are you
Mhm.
hearing from your constituents, and how are you able to provide assistance, if any, or able to guide them, with what to do? It could be someone who might replay this, or someone who's on that might know someone, or
Mhm.
might be in a situation, you know, and even with the talks, that's not the word I want to use, but that are taking place now, that have stalled, and the
Right.
moratoriums are in
Right.
jeopardy, people.
Right.
So what are you seeing, and how are you addressing this situation?
Well, there's two sides to this situation. There's the people who are being affected, and then, as everybody knows, there's the opportunities that unfortunately come with every downfall. And so,
Yes.
for the people who are being affected, what I would say to you is, number one, um, don't let don't let your bill hold you hostage. Don't let your situation hold you hostage, and don't let pride that goes before the fall hold you hostage. Most, if not all, states in the United States, because I know you have some international members as well. But in the United States, most, if not all states, have gotten two rounds of COVID money from the federal government, at least one round. I know we got two in Virginia, which means that the locality then got two rounds of COVID money. And part of the COVID money can be from your local legislators designated to help with rental and mortgage assistance. And so when people hear assistance, that word tends to have make people feel some kind of way, right? Especially when people have been providing for themselves and they feel like they have stood on their own 2 feet and pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, all those things that when you start saying you need assistance, it may make you feel a little inadequate, like you are not doing everything that you can do and you don't want the handout from the government. But what I'm going to say to you is whether it's a federal tax dollar, a state tax dollar, or a local tax dollar, people pay taxes. So
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
not federal money. It's
Right.
not state money. It's not local. It's your money. That's all it is. If you look at FICA and all the other rest of those things that trickle out of your state income taxes and all that money is money that you've paid into a system that is now being reprogrammed back to help you in your time of need,
Mhm.
or is going to be used to pay the debt on a loan, because all of these trillions of dollars are going to, that's a whole nother conversation. But it's
Mhm.
your money. Federal, state, or local dollars, those are dollars of taxpayers, and taxpayers are the citizens, the residents, those people who pay taxes. So what I would say to you is, number one, um don't hold yourself, don't let yourself get further into a pickle because you would not reach out and address your problem and take the assistance that is being offered and available to you. I know in Norfolk, our assistance is being offered through the Redevelopment and Housing Authority. I want to say in Virginia Beach, it's through the actual city government. There's an office that they have assigned for it. So reach out, go to your local government website. The second thing is that there have been nonprofits who have been able to apply for state and federal grant money through COVID to also be able to assist you with help if you're behind in your mortgage, if you're behind in your rent, and those payments are made directly to the landlord or to the mortgage company. It
Right.
does require some paperwork. I think I had a conversation with our redevelopment and housing authority last week, and one of the main problems that they're facing is that people are not submitting the forms in the manner that they need. All of the forms, even if the fourth page is left intentionally blank, you still have to send it. It may take you a couple of dollars to go down to either Kinko's or Office Max or wherever to send clear and legible documentation, but you have to do that because the money does have stipulations, and the agencies that are entrusted with dispersing the funds have to follow guidelines. They can't just give the money away to lottie dottie and everybody. So you have to prove what your need is and what your impact is. And again, there may be some people who feel like that's beneath them, and there may be some people who feel like I'm not doing all that. But the other alternative is what? To get evicted or to lose
Right.
your home. You know, as far as a mortgage is concerned, reach out to your mortgage servicer. That's the person, that's the company rather, that you make your mortgage payment to. Reach out to them and find out what options you have available to you in order to be able to keep your home. Because that's the first question they're going to ask you. Once they do all the verifying questions, they're going to tell you you're delinquent. They're going to tell you that this call is monitored for quality assurance and this is an intent to collect the debt. Okay. And then they're going to say, when you get a live person on the phone, is it your intent? Do you want to stay in your home? And if your answer truly is yes, then the call will go in one direction. If it's not yes, it will go in a different direction. But if you want to stay in your home, reach out to your mortgage company. This is not the time to go into the witness protection program with your
Yes.
mortgage company when you are either have hours cut or you either have hours cut or you've been laid off from your job and you aren't able to make your payment, don't ignore the phone calls that
Mhm.
the mortgage company is making to you and the notices of delinquency that they are making to you, because this moratorium will lift at some point, and these
Right.
foreclosure actions will get processed through the courts at some point, and the evictions will get processed through the courts at some point. So you want to stay in touch with your landlord. If you have a landlord that will work with you, then you want to stay in touch with your landlord and make some kind of payment arrangement and honor that payment arrangement. They don't want to put you out. I can promise you, as a landlord, that's not what we want. We want to, if especially if all the way up until COVID, you've been a good tenant. You paid your rent on time. You're not tearing up the property. If something breaks, they've been a good landlord. They come and they fix it. That's a landlord that cares about their property and their tenant, and they have a good tenant. They want to keep them. So, call your landlord and explain your situation and let them know what you can do, and see how they, see if they're willing to work with you, because at the end of the day, they don't want to do that. They really don't. They don't want to go through the court process. They don't want to go through all that. They just want, they want to get their life back to normal as well as you do.
Right, right. And they have the same or face with a similar, if not the same situation. I mean, because they have to keep making their mortgage payment, as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. And that's what
So,
people don't understand. And I joke about this, but it's very true. Me and Wells Fargo own my house. I don't own my house.
yeah.
And so if I don't pay Wells Fargo, they don't want to, but they will take the house back. And so your
Right,
landlord, even though they may own it, if they have a mortgage or if they have a line of credit, and depending on what kind of mortgage they have, these moratoriums are not all the way across the board with regard to foreclosure. So if they don't have a federally backed government loan, a VA loan, a FHA loan, Fannie, Freddie, and Sally, and all of them, if they don't have that, then they don't have any government protection from their lender. They have to scramble too and hope their lender will work with them. And if their lender won't work with them, if you don't pay the landlord is not going to be able to pay their mortgage company. And then the next thing you know, you're going to be getting a knock at your door from some servicer or some realtor who's been hired by the servicer to find out you can how quickly you can move. And so
right.
I want to take a little second with that, because what I need everybody who is a renter to be able to put your hands on your lease. All right.
Mm.
Be able to put your hands on your lease. Know where your lease is, know what your lease says, because the lease runs with the property. It does not run with the owner. So if worst case scenario, you were unable to pay, your landlord was unable to pay their mortgage and their property got foreclosed on, and now you've got somebody knocking at your door saying, we just took over the servicing of this property. We're XYZ mortgage company. It was foreclosed on. You need to be out in 10 days or you need to be out in 14 days. Mm-mm-mm. If you've got a valid lease, they cannot just buy the property and kick you out. Now, what you can negotiate for is, well, how much is it worth to you for me to be out in 10 days? And they do such a thing as cash for keys. All right. So the foreclosure companies, the servicers, they do that. They will come and, because they would prefer to sell the property vacant rather than with a tenant in it. And so they will pay you. So let's say they may pay you $3,000 if you can be gone in 30 days, but they may pay you $5,000 if you can be gone in 15 days. And if you can pack all your stuff up and get out of here in the next 7 days, we may pay you 10 grand. Okay. It happens. So every tenant needs to know where their lease is and be able to put your hands
Well,
on it, because they cannot just, in the absence of a lease, you're a tenant at will in most states. And with 30 days notice, you can be put out on the street because you can't prove what your rights are. You can't prove them.
wow, that's great information. I'm gonna have to replay this and listen to that part again. That's the first time I've heard of the term cash for keys. I
Cash
mean,
for keys.
that's awesome, but that's your lane, so.
It was a big deal during the last recession. And I worked in an office where we had a lot of foreclosure agents and they were responsible for making those negotiations. But I actually was able to negotiate a client of mine. She got pretty much all of her down payment back. She was in the process of buying a home anyway. And the landlord had foreclosed on the property. The agent shows up and is like, well, how soon can you be out? We were closing in 2 weeks. And so she was like, 2 weeks, and literally she got her down payment back from the bank, in essence, is where it came from, for vacating the property inside of 2 weeks. And I said, don't tell them people you buying a house.
Right. Can't tell everything. Okay, so let me see which one, because we're kind of moving. This has been so good. I got to pick and choose now.
There's one more thing on mortgages and forbearances. If you go to your mortgage company and they give you a forbearance, know the terms. I made that note here. Know the terms, and that was something you and I talked about. Know the terms of your forbearance. Know whether or not, if in 3 months, 120 days, 180 days, they're going to hold you liable for the entire amount. Know if they're going to just tack on the back the back delinquency to the back of your loan. Know whether or not they're going to add on to your mortgage payment a little bit at a time over the course of whatever the period of time is. And whatever you agree to is always going to be sent to you in writing. You will always get that agreement. If you haven't signed it, it doesn't exist.
Well, let's just put a period behind that. Wow, awesome. I have I think we might have kind of touched it, but I think we probably touched it, but mortgage rates are at a historic low right now. Because we talked about, you mentioned, for some it's kind of a not so good time, but for others it's an opportunity to pick up maybe rental property or purchase a home, for someone who may be renting. But Forbes magazine pointed to a decision that buyers are having to make right now. Most buyers are having to make. They're having to make a decision whether they should sell their home or whether they should refinance their home. So I wanted to find out from you, being out in the marketplace, what are you experiencing in your day-to-day interaction with your potential clients? Are you finding that you have some people, some people don't really necessarily have to buy another home, but they're seeing the really record low rates and they're thinking, maybe I ought to just buy another one instead of refinancing the one that I'm in.
Right.
So if there's no, I know what I would say, but what are you hearing people say? What reasons are they giving you, or what's the conversation that, you're having with them concerning the low rates, and they're in a home, there's nothing wrong with it, but they want to probably purchase a new one, or are they, asking, should they refi?
I think people are, a lot of times, I heard a term the other day, COVID fatigue, and I can relate.
Yes.
And I think people are going stir crazy in their homes. And so they're looking at, oh, I could do that. That gives me something to do. Selling my home to buy a new home, it gives me something to do. And
Mhm.
so I believe the rule of thumb is if you're going to save 2 percentage points on your interest rate, then it's a really good opportunity for
Yeah.
you to refinance into a lower interest rate. I closed a young lady at 2.75, 2.89, or whatever it was. It was 2 point something. Okay.
Right.
And I that was for 40 years, I mean for 30 years. Okay. And so
Yes.
I remember when 6% was a good rate, and then 4% was a good rate, and people kept going, do you think
Right.
it's gonna get lower? Oh my God. And I would say, you know what has to happen to the economy in order for the interest rates to get lower? And sure
That
enough,
they
this is,
go.
this is the economy that we're
Yeah.
in. Um, I
Mhm.
I think a couple of things. I believe that we're going to have situations like this with different viruses, diseases, and things like that for quite some time. We may have this in school, homeschool. I think we're going to have working from home and home offices for a
Or
long time because people are realizing that they don't need it. I'm curious to see what's going to happen to all those 40-foot story buildings that we had to have, and how we crammed in people into offices like sardines. I'm
yeah.
curious as to see what's going to happen there because a lot of those buildings are empty. I
Yeah.
know here the guy, for example, like the Geico plant in Virginia Beach, they packed everybody up and sent them home. And they were like, if you don't have a computer at home, we will come send IT to your house with a company computer and hook it up, right? So
Okay.
I would say to you, if your home is really not meeting your needs, and if you're home, and if you look at the possibility of working from home or having to homeschool your child, and you just don't have the space, you're literally running out of real estate, right? Then selling your home now, it's a premium opportunity because there is a housing shortage across the country, not only for affordable housing, but for housing, period. The thing you're going to find is then you're going to be in the boat of other buyers of, okay, now I'm in this clawing to the top to find the
Mhm.
house, and then I've got to contend with multiple offers possibly on the next house, and not a whole lot of people are able to purchase the next home before they sell the current home. So their debt
Mhm.
to income ratio will not always carry two mortgages. And so you really have to look at your own individual situation. I would love for you to sell your home. I know realtors that would love for you to sell your home because we are chomping at the bit for inventory. We don't have a
Mhm.
whole lot of it, but if your house doesn't work for you and you feel like it's not going to work in the next 5 to 10 years, you're only going to see more of the same, then I would suggest that you look at selling your home, look at what your equity is going to net you after the cost to sell, and then what you can purchase, because your buying power now at 2.7, 2.8, 3% is going to be significantly higher than it would be in probably 5 years when we're probably back at 4.5% or whatever, and whatnot. So if and on the refinancing side, if you have equity in your home and you just tired of looking at the same old walls, right? Like the song, like the song said, all around the world, same song, all around your house, it's just the same old song, right? You want to do some improvements to your home, refinance your mortgage, pull the cash out, and get those improvements done and get those things so you enjoy coming home again. And I can tell you, from personal experience, paint and carpet, you will feel like you are walking into a brand new home. You put down a new coat,
Absolutely.
yep, a new coat of paint on those walls and new carpet on those floors or some hardwood or whatever, you will feel like you are walking. Oh, when did we buy this house? You know, you will feel like you're walking, do a little power washing on the outside, change out your shutters, paint your garage door, paint the front door. You will not realize, you think you're driving up to somebody else's house. And so, you know, look at it individually. There is no one size fits all. The one thing I would say to individuals who are renting right now, it is an incredible time to purchase, it with the interest rates being as low as they are. So if you have your credit intact, you got to pay to live somewhere. You're not going to live anywhere for free unless it's at your mama's house. And then she's gonna get tired of you and want you to pay rent or get out. So you gotta pay to live somewhere. So if you are in a position to be able to purchase and take advantage of either first-time home buyer programs, or if you're a veteran and you can do 100% financing, or if you have money saved up, you can also you can borrow from your 401k, and in most cases, in order to purchase a home, then take advantage of becoming a homeowner, because it's nothing like knowing that when you walk in the door, this is yours, and you don't have to worry about somebody coming and telling you that they're going to raise the rent and they haven't done anything, or God forbid they didn't pay the mortgage and now you don't have to worry about any of that, because now it's yours. So there's definitely an opportunity there.
Awesome. Awesome information. We're getting to the top of the hour. I wanted to take a look at just take a look real quick to see if there are any questions. This has been power packed, in my opinion, with great information that I know that people will be able to take, some of these nuggets and, share it with somebody, who they know that's going through something, or that needs the information, or maybe even help themselves. And I actually had two more questions, but you covered it. And part of it was the common concerns that homeowners and renters have, and that they're faced with. And you've pretty much shared, that you pretty much shared the information that I believe would be helpful to
I
them there.
can I comment on that gentleman who made the comment about the low interest rate and the paying off things sooner
Okay,
earlier?
I don't see it. You go ahead. If
He
you can
made
see
he
it, I
made a
don't see
comment about low interest rates, and I think I remember calling you with this story, because this was another one of my Chris light bulb moments. So I went to buy a mattress, and I went to the furniture store, and I went to buy the mattress, and I felt really confident in being able to finance and get the special no interest financing. I had worked to a place where I felt confident with, I could, we've got this credit terms and I could offer it, and I could apply for it and I could get it, right? And so I think my total purchase was like $3,300, and the credit limit that they offered me was like, it was like $2,300. So it left about $1,100 or so left, right? And this special interest, it was 2 years, 0 interest, and all of that. So I'm in the store, and the gentleman tells me, well, we've approved you for this, but you still have a balance. What credit card would you like to put it on? And I looked at him and I said, excuse me? He said, well, you have a balance. What credit card did you want to put it on? And I said, well, why would I do that? He says, well, how else are you going to pay it? I said, well, y'all take cash, right? And he just looked at me baffled, right? But that was my Chris light bulb moment, because here and again, the way I thought about credit. But what I say all that to say is, when you do those, because nowadays people are offering a lot of that in these zero interest this, zero interest that. And so what you want to do is you want to be mindful of the payment that you're making, because when they sent me the bill and the minimum payment, and I looked at my balance, the minimum payment would have sent me over the 24 months that the zero interest was applicable to. And the fine print said that if I go past the 24 months, all of the interest on the entire balance would then be charged to me. So I got my calculator out and I calculated my balance and I divided it by 23, not 24, because I wanted to make sure. And then I set my my automatic payment up for that amount of money to be paid to them every month for the next 23 months. And I didn't pay them a dime of interest on the finance part, and I didn't pay them a dime of interest on the rest, because I just swiped my little debit card because Chris told me I need to save some money and not spend it all. So I had some in the bank.
I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do, but you're really
so
good
when
at
you start looking at the interest, make sure you pay attention to the terms as well.
Absolutely.
And that fine print, because low interest and no interest doesn't make a hell of beans worth of difference if you go past those special financing terms and then they hit you with 18, 24, whatever the going interest rate is, they hit you with that on the total purchase price on your, on your total balance. So
that's right.
the gentleman that talked about the interest, thank you.
That's right. That's a good point. The accrued interest over time is added, plus the higher interest rate is added. If you don't pay it off within that time frame. So that can be a lot of money. So I'm glad you brought that up. You said that, okay, I see it. The lower the interest, the faster you pay it off. Okay. Let's see. Is that what you were referring to, Angela? I see that. Okay. If there are any questions, I'm scanning right now. I really appreciate everybody for coming on tonight. I'm scanning to see if there's any questions. If you have any questions for Angela before we sign off, now is the time. And Robin, if you see any questions, please text it to me or write it in the comment section. Okay. I don't see any questions, but I do thank everybody for coming on. And so before you sign off though, I want to thank you, Angela, for the plethora of information that's been bestowed upon all of us tonight. I mean, and it was so this is what I guess what city officials are good at doing. I mean, you hit a lot of different topics, at one time. And okay, Robin said no questions. Okay, so she's scanning the
Hey,
comments.
Robin.
Thank you so much, Robin. But this, I mean, it's just this is a time when, even though, and I'm just saying this, and we're just having this last minute chat, and this was with everyone in the forum still, and those who will replay it, we realize that this is a very difficult time in every way. I mean, there's so much weight, I'm sure probably some of you, might feel. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we leave you with, some kind of hope and encouragement, and as well as, give you the knowledge. Angela is so knowledgeable and so in these areas, in so many different areas, but I'm glad that she, decided to share with us tonight, even her personal testimonies as well. So don't think that you're alone, you're by yourself. And a very accomplished woman, going all the way to, I almost hate to say, but Congresswoman. It's going to be a different Congress. It's going to be a different, yeah, she's going to be up there one day soon. But we need her to be there too. But all jokes aside, and we don't, this isn't like a political kind of forum or anything. I'm just saying, I've been called, it's an inside joke. I've called her Congresswoman for probably 5 years. I don't know.
Yeah, you have. You
But
have.
but at any rate, and it's because she does so much for the community, and she really and truly cares. She is a servant leader in the community, and I really appreciate everything that she does. Um, so if there are no questions, Angela, I really appreciate you saying yes. I appreciate you taking the time and being
Absolutely.
away from your husband and being gone and having a long day, but spending time with all of the wealth builders in the Live My Life Debt Free community. We are going to have um, um, Mrs. Joette Claude, who's the CEO of CEB Financial Tax and Accounting Services, next week on the 29th. And she is going to be informing all of us, what to look forward to for tax year 2020. Next
Mm-hmm.
year, oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness. I mean, there's so much,
Mm-hmm.
not only just tax laws, but there's
Mm-hmm.
so much that you and I will be
Mm-hmm.
faced with. All of the stimulus money and the
Mm-hmm.
unemployment that people have been taken advantage of, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Understand it's not free money.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be sharing with you what to expect, how to handle the the money that actually is going to you're going to have to pay taxes on. So, but at
Mm-hmm.
any rate, and I can't even tell you everything. Again, that's not my lane, but she's definitely going to be giving you tips concerning your taxes amid the pandemic that we're faced with right now. But there's a lot of different tax tips that she's going to be giving, whether it be small business owners or individuals. So you definitely don't want to miss that next week on the
Mm-hmm.
29th. And you can see it's going to be the same time, 8 p.m., the 29th. At 8 p.m. And but I'm going to have the announcement still up in both forms. So listen, thank you all so much for being with us
Thank
tonight. Thank
you.
you all for who will replay this. I am
Yeah.
Chris Roebuck, founder and CEO of Live My Life Debt Free, sharing tonight with Angela Williams-Graves, who is the City Council member of Norfolk, Virginia. And she's also a principal broker and owner of Homes by Angela. What's your email?
My email
Drop,
is
please, your email.
broker. It's broker, BROKER, at homesbyangelarealty.com. And my first name is a little quirky. It's ANGELIA. So that's homesbyangelarealty.com. Broker at homesbyangelarealty.com. And I just want to say thank you, Chris, for the opportunity to be able to share. I am fortunate and blessed to know you. And I just want to say to everybody that's out there, this too shall pass. And you will get through it. And just don't give up. It is impossible to stop a man or a woman who will not quit. So don't give up.
Mr.
Don't give
Him.
up.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Angela. And
Yep.
thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night. And just make sure that you share this with someone. Just hit
Mhm.
share tonight. They will be glad that you did. Good night, everybody. Good night, Angela.
Good
Bless
night.
you.